everyone, and welcome to For Love and Money with the Lesbian Talk Show, the podcast about selling the most sapphic fiction you can. Today, we have a very special guest who I'm excited to talk to, TB Markinson, who is the founder of the website I Heart Lesfic. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show today.
Thanks for the invite. It's fantastic to be here today.
So for those who haven't visited I Heart Lesfic yet, what content does the site offer?
The content, it varies. Every week on Tuesday, I do what I call the new release newsletter. So people can sign up either via email, or I also upload it onto the website as well. And it really lists the new releases for the week in ebooks and in audiobooks. I've added audiobooks recently. And then I also include, if there are any authors who have let me know that they're running a giveaway or podcast news or any kind of lesfic news, I include it in the newsletter. And so that's the main part of I Heart Lesfic. And I also do guest posts for authors, and sometimes I run giveaways. And then a few times a year, I do what I call the mega sales. And I've been doing these 3 times a year. And the last sale was in September. And we had over 100 books steeply discounted and over, I think, 60 or 70 authors involved, which was pretty fantastic. And it was a great hit with the readers.
Wow, that's a really big number of participants. I was actually signed up for that sale, and I thought that it was great. So,
well, the next mega sale will be, I'm hoping, I'm in the planning stages, but last year I did December 26th, I think through the 30th. They run for 5 days, so that way if the author wants to do a freebie through Amazon, you can only do it for 5 days. And that was a pretty big success as well. That was the second most popular sale because, everyone's downloaded or gotten their new Kindles for Christmas, or they got gift cards or something like that. And this really allows them to get more bang for their buck because authors are discounting their books and everything. So that will be the next big sale coming up on I Heart Lesfic.
December. Okay, I'll have to mark that on my calendar because I want to participate again.
I hope so.
So back to the website. Why did you decide to start I Heart Lesfic?
It happened by happenstance, really. I was living at the time before, I'm living in London now, but before I had to move to Dublin with my partner for her work. And this was back in, July of 2016. And we were only going to move for a year. It ended up being 18 months, so it was a bit longer than we expected. And it wasn't until a few weeks before we were leaving London for Dublin that I learned that I would not be able to work in Dublin. We assumed that I would be able to work. And I was able to write, obviously, but I wasn't able to publish anything new during my stay in Dublin. And so for an author, obviously, for an indie author, not being able to publish is kind of a difficult workaround because you want to keep engagement with your readers and keep your name out there and such. And so I was looking for more creative ways to keep my contact with my readers and everything and to keep my name out there. And so that February, I hosted my first joint sale, and it was a much smaller sale. It only involved Harper Bliss and Claire Lydon, who I'm friends with. And the sale was a major hit and everything. So I was like, well, this kind of has, the readers really like this when lesbic authors work together. So I was like, well, I started thinking that over, and I was like, I wanted to coordinate some more sales, but I didn't want to put the page on my own website because it wasn't just about TB Markinson, it was about lesfic. And so then I decided, well, I should have a page for lesfic readers and authors and fans and whoever, just a place where everyone can come together and we can all promote each other, but not have it just based on me. Because while I was still trying to keep my name out there, I also didn't want to just be like, oh, hey, TB. So that's how I came up with I Heart Lesfic. And so when I started hosting more sales, I started putting it on the website. And then authors started reaching out to me, and they're like, well, hey, can I write a guest post and such? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. And so that's how that branch came out as well. So basically the whole premise of it is just to celebrate lesfic.
That's awesome. Full disclosure, I've written a guest post for I Heart Lesfic, and yes. I really enjoyed the experience. So what kind of guest posts do authors send in?
Yeah, it's because the authors, whenever they reach out to me, they're always like, what are your guidelines and such? And I'm like, as long as it touches on lesfic in some way, shape, or form, or even their own writing or writing experiences, or it doesn't have to necessarily just be lesfic, but just something that readers will find interesting. And so I've had authors write about like their own like routines, which authors really enjoy, and I think readers do like learning about how the sausage is made, actually. So there's that, and then there's like I've really been trying to promote not just lesbian romance, which full disclosure, I write lesbian romance. But I've also been trying to promote like the different subgenres of lesfic, because there's a whole smorgasbord of stories out there. And so I reach out to like fantasy authors or science fiction and have them write about their experiences about what it's like to publish science fiction or fantasy in the lesfic genre and such like that, and why it's interesting, because I'm a huge reader of, even though I don't write it, I love science fiction and I love fantasy.
Well, as a science fiction and fantasy author myself, I mean, that is my specialty. I am very appreciative, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about it and think that they won't like it, but really it's very character driven. So if you're not a big sci-fi and fantasy reader, I would encourage you to maybe give some of these books a try, because they're really fantastic.
They are. I got interested in sci-fi later on. My partner, her boss, was a huge Battlestar Galactica fan, and when my partner started working for this department, the boss was like, "Does anybody want to watch this?" And my partner came home and was like, "I think I need to watch this series." And I was like, "Oh, it's science fiction. I just don't want to watch it." But we ended up putting it in the DVD player, and I got so hooked on this show that when we opened up season 2, it was Saturday morning, like at 9 a.m, we opened up season 2, and one of the discs was missing, and I was like, "You need to call your boss. It's an emergency." She's like, "I'm not calling my boss on a Saturday morning." I was like, "You need to. I need to know what's going to happen."
Oh, God.
And I got hooked, and then I started reading a lot more science fiction. I started watching a lot more science fiction, and I'm a political history nerd. And granted, these are made up worlds and stuff like that, but they're really explorations of politics and the way humans evolve and interact with each other. And as from my background, I find it fascinating from that side.
So I gotta ask, did you write any Battlestar Galactica fan fiction?
I have not. Maybe in my spare time. I mean, that was such a fantastic show. And then there were 6. I mean, who didn't love 6?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of fan fiction out there for that show, so I was just curious. Okay, so touching a little bit on what you said earlier about your own work, aside from your work on I Heart Lesfic, you're also an author. And what strategies have you found most effective for promoting your own work?
Working with other authors. I started publishing way back, it's not that far, 2013. And I remember my first book I published, I had absolutely no idea how to promote it. And I was reaching out to certain websites, but since I was a new name, it was harder to get traction, because even back then, the indie publishing world was exploding. And so all these websites were obviously getting inundated with different requests. And since I didn't have a build-up, so I found the best way for me to get out there and to get noticed is by networking with other authors. And when you network with other authors, like if you are releasing a new book, you can say, "Hey, is it possible for you to mention in your newsletter that I published this new book, or on social media?" and such like that. And so especially if you're a new author listening to this and you only have, let's say, 50 to 100 people on your subscriber list, if you can network with some other authors, you can quadruple that easily with just reaching out to people, because most authors are really going to help you out, because we like each other, and the more people who read lesfic, the more people who buy it. I know there's some kind of misconception that we're all competitors. We're not competitors, we're colleagues. And the more that we work together, the more we can help each other out. So when they reach out to you and say, "Hey, can you help me?" I'm like, "Absolutely. What can I do for you?" So that's one of the best methods I use. I do have I do have subscribers on my newsletter, which I've grown steadily, which is also another big plus as well. So